Hello everyone, let's get straight into a topic that is really the heart and soul of AI ethics and law, the right to an explanation. This isn't just a technical requirement, it's about how we as humans maintain our dignity when machines start making big calls about our lives. If we look at the official study guide, the right to an explanation is generally understood as the right of an individual to receive an explanation for a decision made about them by an automated system, particularly when that decision has legal or similarly significant effects. Now, in plain English, this basically means that if a computer says no to you, it shouldn't be allowed to just go silent. You have a right to ask, "Hey, why did you do that?" and get a real, understandable answer back. Think of it like this. Imagine you go to a restaurant and the waiter tells you, "I'm sorry, you aren't allowed to eat here today." If you ask why, and he just stares at you or says, "The system decided," you'd be furious, right? You'd want to know if it's because of what you're wearing, or because they're full, or if there's a mistake. In the AI world, if an algorithm denies you a mortgage or a job interview, the right to an explanation is your legal why. It's the tool that keeps us from being pushed around by black boxes that nobody understands. Now let me show you where this actually lives in the law. According to the official study guide, the most famous home for this right is the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, specifically in the sections that talk about automated decision making and the need for meaningful information about the logic involved. Stay with me for a moment because meaningful information is the key phrase there. It doesn't mean the company has to show you millions of lines of code. It means they have to explain the logic in a way a normal person can actually grasp. You might have seen this at work if you deal with privacy policies. I remember a case with a large delivery company that used AI to rank its drivers. Some drivers were getting fewer shifts, and they didn't know why. Because of the GDPR, the company couldn't just say the AI did it. They had to explain the logic. Things like your delivery speed was lower than the average, or you declined too many last minute requests. That's the law forcing the machine to be a little more human. It turns a computer says no moment into a here is the reason moment. Now watch how this connects to our daily jobs as governance professionals. The official study guide emphasizes that for an explanation to be valid, it must be meaningful. This means it needs to explain the criteria and the weight given to different factors rather than just dumping technical jargon on the person. Think of it like a teacher grading an essay. If a student gets a D and asks why, and the teacher just hands them a 50-page manual on the physics of ink and paper, is that helpful? Of course not. That's a technical dump. A meaningful explanation would be the teacher saying, "You got a D because your thesis was unclear and you didn't cite your sources." I once helped a credit card company revamp its rejection letters. Their old letters said things like internal model score 402. Nobody knows what that means. We changed it to say, your application was declined because your total debt compared to your income is currently too high. That's the difference between a technical output and a meaningful explanation. This is a really important nuance for your exam. According to the official study guide, the right to an explanation usually kicks in when the AI's decision has legal or similarly significant effects on a person. This is the law's way of saying we don't need to over-explain the small stuff, but we must explain the big stuff. Don't worry, we'll take it slow here. Think of it like a playground. If a kid decides not to pick you for their kickball team, it's a bummer, but it's not a significant legal effect. You don't need a formal hearing for that. But if a judge uses an AI tool to decide if you should get bail or stay in jail, that is a massive, life-altering significant effect. I've seen some companies get worried that they have to explain every single AI-powered recommendation. Like, why did the AI suggest I buy this blue shirt? Usually, the answer is no, because a shirt recommendation doesn't change your legal status or your ability to survive. We save the heavy governance for the decisions that really hurt if they go wrong. Now stay with me because there is a bit of a tug of war here. The official study guide notes that there is often a tension between the right to an explanation and intellectual property or trade secrets. Basically, companies don't always want to explain their logic because they're afraid their competitors will steal their secret sauce. Think of it like the recipe for Coca-Cola. They have to tell you the ingredients for safety or transparency, but they don't have to give you the exact measurements and the temperature of the vats, the trade secret. In my 25 years in this field, I've been in so many rooms where the lawyers are fighting with the data scientists. The lawyers say, we have to tell the customers how this works. And the data scientists say, but then our competitors will copy our model. As a trainer, I always tell my students that their job is to find the middle ground. You give the customer enough to understand the why without giving away the blueprints of the how. To wrap up our session, we have to talk about the hardest part. The official study guide acknowledges that some modern AI, like deep neural networks, are so complex that even the people who build them can't always give a perfect explanation. This is the famous black box problem. Think of it like a very talented but very quiet master artist. You ask him, why did you put a streak of yellow there? And he just shrugs and says, it felt right. He can't explain the thousands of tiny subconscious decisions his brain made. But in AI governance, it felt right isn't a legal defense. This is why we use those tools we talked about earlier, like Lime and SHAP, to try and reverse engineer an explanation. Even if the box is black, we have to shine enough light around the edges to give the person an answer they can use to improve their lives. Because at the end of the day, if we can't explain it, we shouldn't be letting it rule over people.